So we're on Daf Lamed Hey Amid Beis here in Maseches Beitsa 35b, where we started a new parak, a new chapter, the last one in the Masechta, and in a way we're sort of up to dessert. We're talking about peiros now. Started with eggs, now we're up to the fruit. And it's talking about if you have fruit on your roof that they used to put up there to dry it out and so forth, spread it out, dry it out, and then when the rains come, it's like a disaster. So Chazal gave you some ability to get it covered and get it into the house to prevent financial disaster. But specifically on Yom Tov and not on Shabbos. And the issue that Rashi says is tircha. Will we allow you to do this extra work? Well, yes, on Yom Tov we will, but on Shabbos not. Now we're going to see in this coming Gemora, there is another case, however, in Shabbos where we do let you do some tircha for the sake of a certain mitzvah on Shabbos, and then there's going to be all sorts of questions. Well, what would be if that was on Yom Tov? What would be all sorts of hypothetical situations that are variables within the world of doing some kind of an effort to move things, etc., to facilitate what you want. To what extent will Chazal allow you to go through that? To do all this extra work for the sake of a certain goal that you have in mind. We see already in our Mishnah there seems to be a certain limitation on Yom Tov yes, on Shabbos no, and so on and so forth. So now we're going to get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of that and find out that there's a lot of murky situations where we're not really sure what to do. And it's a pretty unique Gemora, in my opinion, that we're going to get this long string of questions. What if it was this, and what if it was that, and what if it was, but what about this, and what about that? Without ever coming to a real proper resolution about any of them, really. And yet, it's important to go through that, apparently, to show that they're all questionable activities. And that would mean the poskim, we're going to have a field day over here trying to figure out halacha l'maisa, what to do after this whole Gemora is all over, when the dust settles, so to speak. All right.
What is it we're talking about now?
Excuse me?
Continue from before?
It's in the sense that in our Mishnah, the subject was going through a certain amount of effort that we normally don't like you to exert extra effort because it's like it's supposed to be a day of relaxation and enjoyment. When will we let you go through this extra tircha, this extra effort, and when will we not let you? Okay, so we'll call it the Sugya of Tircha, the chapter in our book for how much exertion will Chazal let you do. And there may be a difference between Shabbos and Yom Tov, as we see implied in our Mishnah. And there may be a difference between, will we let you do it for your own financial gain, like in our Mishnah, or what about for a mitzvah?
How much effort will Chazal allow you to do?
Well, how much will they let you allow a person to exert himself for the sake of different kinds of projects on Shabbos and Yom Tov, right? Sometimes the project is for the benefit of others or for a mitzvah. Sometimes it's for your own personal benefit of gaining or not losing money. So the fact that our Mishnah sets up a kind of an equation. You can do it on Yom Tov, yes, on Shabbos, no, and we know that there's a certain amount of money involved in our Mishnah. It brings to mind all sorts of questions. Well, what would be if we changed a few of those variables? Would it be better or would it be worse? So I would say this Gemora is more for a posek, because for most of us, hopefully we'll just have a nice relaxed Yom Tov with our family. We don't have to worry about all these things. But there could obviously come up questions where we know there's a certain amount of exertion involved, and at least after having learned the sugya, it'll be clearer, hopefully in our minds, that it's not so simple. Right? The best option is usually to ask a shayla. local Orthodox rabbi. All right, who would like to start the ball rolling? Don't all jump at once.
So we learned in the Mishnah, the fruit that falls through a skylight.
No. Not it falls through.
It drops through. It
No.
goes through.
Mashina means we are doing something. We are allowed to lower it down. It's a plural verb going on people, not on the fruit. People are allowed to do this act of lowering fruit down.
On your turn.
Right.
So ask the question, Makama.
What does that mean?
How much? Up to how much?
Okay.
Down to lower down.
Now, let's see Rashi to get the question especially clear. Who would like to read? Now, the Rashi is 3 lines from the bottom, 4 words in.
Who wants to read it?
Kama Yehei Bahem Below Amrina Tircha
2 more words.
Yeterahu
Right.
extra.
So what's the question? It's a run-on Rashi, right? You have to read it with the quote from the Gemora.
So Kama to how much?
How much what?
Abraham
Yehei means what?
to be with them.
Right, so if it's like a positive, it's like there will be, or how much could there be, maybe. Bahem, in them. Now what's the them? What's the heter in our Mishnah? You can lower down what? Fruit. Rashi actually said in the Mishnah, we didn't read it now, but we read it yesterday, that it's talking about wheat and barley. But I'm sure there could be, we use the example of nectarines, I didn't think it was a bad example. Okay, so how much could there be? I used an example of 100 nectarines, remember?
Yeah.
Did I use the right example or the wrong example? Right, am I right that it could be 100 nectarines? So this is the question, how much fruit can you have in this pile that you're trying to protect from the rain? And they're what? Lo amrinan, that we will not say about that amount that it's a tircha yaseira. That's the point. Rashi did say in the Mishnah it is a tircha. But there's a fine line between tircha and tircha yaseira, right? Like you can think about it yourself. Sometimes your wife asks you to do something, you do it without even thinking. Why? Because it wasn't so much of an effort. Sometimes she asks you to do something, you're like, oh my gosh. Why? What's the difference? Because that's like too much. Right? So we all have our little lines of demarcation where we say that's too much.
Right? Just get off the couch is too much.
I agree. For most of modern man, getting off the couch is too much of an effort. That's why.
Who wants to get up and help you just sit there?
That's why they've invented all sorts of things for remaining on the couch. People made a lot of money with these inventions. But in the meantime, the greatest invention is the wife, right? Go get this, go get that. The problem is she learned about the same invention. She tells her husband, you go get me this and you go get me that. You think if she's sitting right here, why can't she get it herself? The answer is she's on the couch. That's why they always say that be careful how you criticize. You have to couch it properly.
Or when you're lying
How you
in bed.
couch your remarks.
When you're lying in bed.
That's right.
That's already
So,
big,
besides the fact that we're all lazy bums, right? But there is such a thing as Chazal are aware, they're acutely aware of this problem that there is effort, and then there's too much effort, right? And what are they going to allow you to do on Yom Tov, apparently? Effort, but not too much. So Rashi says, well, how much? How much fruit would be called too much? At what point we draw the line and say, sorry, that was too much. Now that's called tircha yaseira. That's what Rashi says the Gemora is wondering. Ad kama yehei behen, how much amount of this fruit would constitute the lo amrina that we wouldn't say tircha yaseira. In other words, how much could we still say it's not a tircha yaseira? So how much would still be permissible because it's only a tircha and not a tircha yaseira, right? At what point do we say, no, it's too much, and one less, let's say 100 nectarines is too much, 99 is okay. 99 is not such a big deal. 100? Oh my gosh. Okay? So at least we understand the question of the Gemora. So we have a Mishnah that said you're allowed to, but didn't give an amount. There has to be a limit. Right? We'll let you the whole day just moving your fruit down from the roof. It seems like intuitively we know there has to be a limit. It can't be that we're allowing you to do it the whole day. That would destroy your... The whole idea was to let you do a certain amount so that you don't have to sit there morose and worried that you lost all your money. But to allow you to fret away the whole day, lowering it down from the roof, that we know there has to be a limit. It can't be let you spend the whole day lowering it down. So, well, how much? So go ahead. Who's reading the Gemora?
Amar Rabbi Zira.
Rabbi Zera.
Amar Rav Asi.
Rav Asi, two great men. Amrila, some people say there's a different version of which rabbis were involved.
Amar Rabbi Asi. Amar Rabbi Yochanan.
Right. It was Rav Asi in the picture, but he wasn't the final rabbi. He was just giving over what his Rebbe had said, Rabbi Yochanan. So it's either Rabbi Zera telling you what Rav Asi said, or Rav Asi telling you what Rabbi Yochanan said. Either way, hopefully this will solve our problem. Keep going.
Ota Sheish Minim.
Which means?
Like, I don't know.
Ota. What's ota? Like oto. Otodava.
Is.
No. It. It's like pointing with your finger. That. Oto ish. That same person. So ota, that same thing, sheshaninu, that
equals.
No, not shaveh. From the word mishnah is in there. That's right. Like shinantam levanecha. That's the verb for learning. It's actually also a word for repetition, right? Shana. What do we call every year? A shana. It's a repetition. It's also where the word shnayim comes from, too. Like a mishnah. Right? It's all the same. So, shanina, we learned it where? Somewhere in Maseches. On the side it says Shabbos. So here we go with another mishnah from Shabbos. And apparently there we talked about also exerting oneself to do a certain thing. Okay? And we're saying, however much we allowed you to exert yourself there must be similar to what we allow you to exert yourself here. You want to know how much? Our Mishnah doesn't say how much, but it does say over there how much. What does it say over there? Mifanim.
Mifanim.
Kupot.
4 or 5 boxes.
What's mifanim? Panui. What's panui?
Change.
Available, right? Which means to clear out a space. Panui means a clear space. What's a person who's not married called? Panui. Right? Available. So it's like a cleared space. So mifanim is the verb for clearing out a space. So imagine you have like a warehouse or a barn, right? And then someone says, "Can you host my Sheva brachos?" And you say, "Well, look, in my house it wouldn't go, but in my barn, if you don't mind the other things happening over there, I can clear out some space, or my warehouse." Right? I have a little warehouse in the back of my storage unit in the back of my house. I can clear out some space. to have the Sheva brachas. So how much are you allowed to clear out?
4 or 5 boxes with
Boxes of kupot shell
shell tevin.
of
Tevin, the shell.
Straw. the shell tevuah. What's tevuah? Produce, right? Also very similar idea. So apparently there were like standard boxes, right? If every box is different, you're not really telling an amount. So, however many, right? You're saying no, there must have been the standard size of those boxes. I don't know how big, but I assume like today there's some very big boxes like for storing grain and so forth. So those boxes, let's say, have a certain standard size. Say 4 or 5 of those. Right? Why 4 or 5? Just say 5. That's what those all like to talk. 4 or 5. Okay? So we're allowed to clear out 4 or 5 of those. What? Why? For the sake of
visitors or
guests.
guests.
Right? You want to have a larger Suda. Like I said, Sheva brachas. So you want to clear it out to be able to have more guests. Or maybe to sleep them, right? It's put a little straw down. In those days that was a nice comfortable bed. So you can do it for the sake of orchim, which is a mitzvah, right? To have orchim is a mitzvah. That's why Lot was saved from Sodom. So he did the mitzvah of Chmasas orchim, the serious nefesh. And one other mitzvah. And also will allow you to do it for the sake of Bittul Beis Midrash. What do you think that means? Sruli? Normally Bittul would mean in the annulment of the Beis Midrash. Right? So let's say they didn't have nice places to learn, and if you don't have enough place to put everyone, people aren't going to sit around learning. They're going to go back home. And they're going to do Bittul Torah. So do you want to create that Bittul Torah, or you want to clear out a little space for them?
Clear out a little space for them.
That's right. How much can you do till the Chazal tell you, sorry, too much effort now? 4 or 5 boxes from an area. That's the limit of how much we'll let you exert yourself till we say, sorry, Charlie, you've done too much work for Shabbos. And note, we're talking about Shabbos here, not just Yom Tov. Right? So what's Rabbi Yochanan? Let's call him Rabbi Yochanan at this point. Rabbi said there's 2 candidates, either Rav Asi or Rabbi Yochanan, but let's call him Rabbi Yochanan at this moment. What's he telling us? That the amount that Chazal will allow you to what? Exert yourself, where before it becomes too much, is 4 or 5 of these big crates that normally contain straw or produce. And that will allow you to do. Why? For the sake of... No. Orchim. It's on Shabbos. It's a Mishnah on Shabbos, not Yom Tov. Guests. Having more guests. And having more people sit and learn. Right? That they shouldn't go home and not have a place to learn. So for the sake of these 2 mitzvahs, right? Think of the balance sheet. For the sake of the mitzvahs, we'll let you do this much tircha. More tircha we won't let you do. What if it wasn't a mitzvah? I just want to play a game of cards. Have more people in my canasta game. Or whatever. Would you be allowed to clear out 4 or 5 crates for the poker game? Unless they're called orchim. Maybe that's also called orchim. Some kind of orchim. Right? But some other mitzvah that, let's say I have no place to put, all these things that the goyim brought something on Shabbos, and I have no place to put it. Right? My merchandise arrived on Shabbos. Of course, I'm not going to lift it. The goy is ready to put it somewhere. But he says, where am I supposed to put it, mister? So, well, I'll clear out some space. Would I be allowed to do that on Shabbos? No. Because it says only for the sake of a mitzvah, orchim, or learning. but for the sake of your merchandise, to have a place to store your merchandise, it doesn't say. So there's a kind of a balance here. A certain amount of tircha for certain kinds of mitzvahs. If you change those variables, what will probably happen? More tircha or less mitzvah? What would you expect? Just repeating what he said.
That sounds good.
Why? Because this is specifically what Chazal are telling us. If it didn't have to be this way, they wouldn't have told us. If it was more than 5, they would have told us more than 5. And if it was different mitzvahs, they would have told us different mitzvahs, right? But I assume these are the specific mitzvahs, or mitzvahs of the same nature, like same level of mitzvah, not less mitzvah, or not more tircha. Right? This is the perfect balance that Chazal said. This much tircha for this much mitzvah. If you change around that balance, I'm not sure if you'll get it. But what are we saying? This is the same amount of tircha, Rabbi Yochanan answered, as what? What was the original question? Ad kama, remember?
How much can you lower down?
How much what? What was the original question?
Lower.
Can you lower down? And we're talking about fruit that will get ruined in the rain. That's a financial loss. And I'm exerting myself on Yom Tov for that, to save myself from that financial loss. And we say, well, how much are we going to allow you to do it? What did Rabbi Yochanan say? The same amount that we'd allow you to do on Shabbos in a situation of mitzvah of orchim, or the mitzvah of learning, and this many crates, etc. So it seems like we're learning from Rabbi Yochanan, there's an equation there. I'm allowed to do on Yom Tov the same amount of exertion that I was allowed to do over there on Shabbos, even though they're completely different subjects. There I'm doing it for orchim, or learning, and here I'm doing it for my own financial loss. So that's a big chiddush, that he's equating the two. On that, the Gemora immediately says, V'dilma shiny hasa. Perhaps
It's different.
it's different over there. In other words, who told you to equate the two situations? They're radically different. Maybe Chazal on Shabbos let you do all these things for these two special mitzvahs, but they wouldn't necessarily want you to exert that same amount for lowering fruit down from the right. So the Gemara goes into a whole series now of variables in when you have a possibility for a mitzvah or exertion and their combination.
Dilma is